Yes, well, thank you. We appreciate your time for speaking with us on Frontier Africa Reports. Again, as a former president of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, I'm sure during your tenure, some of these conversations around demutualization or going public must have been held during the council meetings and all of that. So, for you as an individual and as a member of the exchange, what has this day really brought to your mind as a bank executive and so a professional on Nigerian market space?
Thank you. When I joined the exchange, one of the questions I asked was, why aren't we demutualized? And the reason I asked the question is that the benefits of demutualization were well known to me, and the effects of being a mutual organization, the constraints on the competitiveness of the exchange, and of course, to the benefit of the larger economy were obvious to me as well. And I was told that, look, we've tried it, and we've thought about it, but maybe the time was not right. So I made demutualization the crux of my presidency. And indeed, it was actually during the tenure of our council that we convinced the members, I think it was March 30th, 2017, actually to demutualize. That's when it was approved. And so you see, it's a very, very arduous journey. I cracked the joke that day that if we draw an analogy to Moses, let's make sure that I'm not Moses who doesn't see the promised land.
Here you are.
Yeah, and here I am.
Promised land. But for 3 years, between 2017 and 2020,
yes,
to be able to secure all necessary regulatory governmental approval must have been an arduous task.
Yes. I tell people that when Nigeria comes together for a common purpose and a common good, it's a fantastic nation. We achieve great things. I think that when people look at the path to demutualization for Nigeria and you compare the experience of other countries, Nigeria will be a case study for excellence. The amount of cooperation that was obtained from government and the regulatory community was immense. And I'm not saying that, it was a stroll in the park. I mean, it took 3 years. And even before that, a lot of work had been done from a regulatory standpoint. So, of course, the guidelines on demutualization were issued, and it became necessary actually for Nigeria to pass a demutualization act specific to this transaction. And it was passed for the Nigerian legislative process, it was passed in record time. I remember hearings, in Abuja that took place. I remember road shows to convince and defend and so on, and the back and forth. So this was a very, very, very rigorous process, and here we are. Now I think that the question you should ask is that, why did everybody pull together in this process, to support it?
It's amazing. Young, old, brokerage firms, members of the exchange, everyone just put together in a very short while from getting the act signed by Mr. President or passed by the legislature and signed by the President. It just became not just work in progress, but a finished product.
The reason is because, people know the benefits of demutualization. I'm sure you've heard it and read it in the scheme document. The first, of course, is corporate governance, essentially you get independence at the level of the directors, and if the directors are independent, that means that the management will be independent. Independent of who? Independent of the dealers, who actually were members of the exchange. In other words, the shareholders, so to speak, of the exchange. And that's a key step. An exchange and the exchange infrastructure are beyond, yes, me and you can come together and form an exchange, but we serve a higher purpose and we serve a larger market. And whatever contributions we make in terms of the infrastructure we bring to that market, it's important that the market and the economy, right, and the interests of the market and the economy are uppermost in terms of governance. That's one. Another key thing I want to see is the issue of access. In the 21st century, the notion of who takes securities to the retail market has changed. Before, it used to be this very wise stockbroker who had done all the exams and so on. Today, it's technology. And when people click and press buttons on their phone to buy and sell shares, the business model for the distribution agent, for the exchange and the exchange's products have to change significantly. I think that competitiveness and demutualization is going to deliver that benefit, to Nigerians. The final thing is the fact that in the Nigerian Stock Exchange, this is going to be one of the greatest companies of Nigeria's future. And it's going to be a company in itself where the shareholders in it, will see their wealth grow as a result of their holdings in the stock exchange. So this is an opportunity for Nigerians to build wealth. I think that the demutualization story generally, and this is why I pursued it the way I did, and the rest of the council members did, is because it gives us the opportunity to, in a sense, herald a new beginning. A new beginning for the Nigerian capital markets. The crisis of 2008 still lingers on the minds of several, particularly the retail investor. This gives us the opportunity to put that in the past and go boldly into a great future for Nigeria and the Nigerian capital markets.
That's a new frontier for all of you, and we thank you for being one of the midwife of the new stock exchange.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Aig Aig-Imoukhuede.